Welcome back to Katsistohkwí, Devaduni Zakta podcast. I'm Angie Marquis, your host today. We're going to be talking with Katsistohkwí Jacco and Drake D'Souza on a fall recap and a look at what's to come in the new year. So in studio, I have Katsistohkwí Jacco, who is our program manager. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Could you give a little bit of an introduction of what you do as the program manager at Devaduni Zakta?
I run and oversee and manage, coordinate a lot of different programs that Dawoodani Zakta has been offering for many years. So many of you know us for our well-renowned Kahnawake Summer Student Employment Program, also known as the KSSEP. I also work on the Mentor a Student Intern Program, also known as the Massey Program, and as well as the self-employment assistance program, and then I oversee Builders of the Future and Dodema's Cafe.
Wow. You have a lot of important programs to oversee. So speaking of Builders of the Future, we also have Drake D'Souza here in studio. He's our workforce development coordinator. Could you give us a little bit of a update on what you do, who you are?
Absolutely. So just to mention that she oversees some of the more consistent programs that we've had and have been offering for a number of years, KSSP, Massey, but a lot of the pop-up programs, the in-house trainings, if you want to call them that, that's really my role here at Devaduni Zakta. So it's really based on, careers that are in demand, skills that are in demand, that are identified by people looking for employable skills, people looking to upskill, or even business owners. And that's where I come in to develop, flexible, innovative programming to meet those demands.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk first about our Mentor a Student Intern program. We kick that off after our summer, and it's an opportunity for employers and students to find some part-time employment that's really related to their future career. And this past semester, we had a really, really good turnout. Could you give us a little bit of a highlight on that?
Yeah, so we had a really great fall 2024 semester in terms of student participation and matching them with employers who can offer them a job opportunity in their field of study. So we had a total of 13 students participate in the Mentor a Student Intern Program. Yeah, we had quite a lot.
That's almost doubled, no?
Yeah, I think the year before we might have had 8 to 9. I think that's usually about our average. So numbers definitely went up, and part of that can be attributed to the fact that we opened up eligibility criteria to Radiwana Hnirat students. Mm-hmm. So they're now eligible to participate in the program. And we've had some students work in different small businesses to help them with Ganyagaha translations for their business. So it's a very positive contribution that they're making in their work placement right now.
Awesome. That's excellent. So Drake, Builders of the Future. We had our second cohort start this fall as well. How did that go?
It's going well so far. As you mentioned, we're in our second cohort. So with our first cohort, we had 7 students. A number of them are continuing with their studies. So for those that are unfamiliar with Builders of the Future, what it is, it exposes students to different trades, carpentry, electrical, and plumbing. It could be a big commitment to just step into one of those, especially right out of high school or when you're changing careers. So to have the opportunity to study in the community and kind of get exposed to all three is a great chance for these students. And we've had success with the students participating in all three and pursuing paths in all three. Yep. The second cohort, we have 8 students that are currently in their second module. So they've completed the carpentry component and now they're headed into the electricity component. So it's going well.
Good. Did we have a big demand? Did we have a lot of applicants?
Absolutely. So we are limited to 8 spots, funding, program structures, and things like that. In terms of applications, we had in the high teens, over double, but we got a good group of 8 students, and we're looking forward to see where they all end up.
I want to talk a little bit about our applications for our programs. We have a lot of people apply, and many times, like the KSSEP, for example, Katsistohkwí, we had almost $500,000 in requests for jobs throughout the community, some outside of the community, but we only have a limited budget. right? So we
Yeah.
were able to fill 70 jobs this summer.
Yes.
Yeah. How do we select those jobs?
So for KSSEP specifically, the criteria that we look at when we are selecting employers for positions, number one, we want to make sure that the application was handed in on time because, as you had said, the demand is so high for the program. We get almost double the amount of requests than we can accommodate.
Yeah.
And so when we do select those positions, there's a committee that comes together made up of some of us in workforce development, a representative from the Ganawalga Education Center, and a representative from Dawdini Business Services. And we come together and we review each and every application and we score them based on our different criteria within the KSSEP. So some of those criteria are: is this a quality job for a student? Does it incorporate Gunyakaha language and culture? Is it innovative? So those are some of our criteria that we look at, and there's 7 in total. Those can be found in our guidelines for the KSSEP. But for all of our programs that we run here at Dawdini, we have switched to a more of a selection process when it comes to choosing whether it's employers applying to the KSSEP or it's individuals applying to programs such as Builders of the Future or the Administrative Assistant Bootcamp. Because the demand is now so high for these in-house programs, right? They're offered here in the community. We offer some great benefits attached to them as incentives for our students to participate in the programs. And so we have moved into a selection process, and it's very similar to how we do it for KSSEP. A committee comes together, reviews each and every application, and we basically score them based on the responses that we see from the prospective student.
All right. So you alluded to the boot camp. So that has been extremely popular as well within our community. We know that we need administrative assistant type roles within all of our organizations and our businesses. So we put together a program last year. January 2024 was our first one, and it was a huge success. And we just finished a second one last Thursday.
Earlier this year is when we first ran the administrative assistant boot camp under this expanded model. So from January to April. And, the response was incredible. The feedback was so positive. We had a cohort of 15, but we had nearly 30 applicants. So enough to fill 2 cohorts. And, many people found new roles as administrative assistants, secretaries, some even, moving up and continue to upskill and advance their careers, which is just wonderful to see. So because of that success, we opened up applications for a second cohort, which attracted even more, nearly 40 applicants.
Wow.
And we were able to host 16 participants, and the interest just kept growing. So as you mentioned, it encouraged us to confirm our third cohort for this upcoming year. So that'll be taking place in January until April. And we really wanted to give a chance to those that, applied for the previous cohorts. So we, as mentioned, we had enough to fill multiple classes, and that's the list that we pulled from to give everyone who's interested just a chance to, participate in this training.
Why do you think the boot camp was such a success?
From what I've heard, as just alluded to, there's a lot of positive benefits, one of which being food. Every Thursday we have catered meals, and, that's one of my favorite parts about talking to the participants is, getting kind of like a ranking of these different foods, and then I go and have it, the week later. So that's, I get an early insight into, who's got the best meals in town.
Yeah.
But really, it's the way we kind of developed this program. As you mentioned, there's a huge need, growing organizations, need for admin roles, both in organizations and private businesses. And, we know it can be a long process to go to NOVA, secretarial, all these different things. So we really wanted to look at how can we bring this training into the community, condense it down into, the need to know how to get your career going, and hence the title of the boot camp. It is intense. It's 12 weeks, twice a week, and they really get the required skills to step into those jobs. And from what I've heard, as mentioned, the feedback's been wonderful, not only from the participants, but also from the different employers who have taken these students on, and, they're excelling in their roles.
Yeah, nice. And that program, we partner with New Frontier School Board, right?
Yeah, not only New Frontier School Board, but it was also made possible. MCK has contributed funds as well. So, just great partnerships all around. They've been wonderful to work with, MCK and New Frontiers.
In order to offer all of these programs that we have, it's always depending on our funding. Our KSSEP program, for example, We could always use as much funds as possible for that. But where do we get our funds to run the KSSEP?
For this past year, funds were received from the Gunawaga Education Center. They're always a major contributor to the KSSEP. We also received funds from the Child and Family Services Fund through Ungwat Dagarit Datsara at KSCS. And then Dawadani Zakda covered funding as well. So those three organizations helped make KSSEP possible and a success.
Whenever we talk about the KSSEP, we always have examples from the community to say that their first job was usually through that program. So for Mentor a Student Intern, that program too, I think we cover minimum wage up to 15 hours.
Dawadani Zakda funds that program entirely. And as we mentioned, we currently cover minimum wage, which is $15.75 in Quebec. So we pay employers 100% of that, as well as any associated mandatory employment-related costs. And normally, because we pay 100% of this, employers are encouraged to top their students up, especially depending on what level of education that they're in. And so normally employers do that as well.
That's a really good incentive to work part-time. You get like that, a mentor, right? Somebody who you're working alongside who will really help you maybe in the future, ideally hire you upon graduation. That's one of the goals. We've seen that in the past where our organizations groom and recruit students for several years, and then upon graduation, you're set.
Yeah, so it's a great segue into a long-term career opportunity for post-secondary students especially. So.
Awesome. For Builders of the Future, Drake, could you talk a little bit about funding for that program?
Absolutely. So from what I've heard, it was a long process for the funding. It's funded through the Government of Canada. So they fund different projects to help different communities, and I believe it was 1.4 million over 4 years, which is a huge investment into our community and into our tradesmen. This was identified through kind of a needs assessment with the different contractors. We noticed, especially throughout COVID, the need for skilled labor in the trades. We have a ton of contractors that need the help, but also we're very limited in terms of the other two components of the program, as we mentioned, electricity and plumbing. Yep. There's not a whole lot available within the community, and we're looking to change that.
All right, so just to wrap up some budgeting, just to give an idea, how much was our budget for the KSSEP this past summer?
Yeah, so we spent just over $245,000 in 2024 for the KSSEP, so just about $250,000 on the program for one summer. So yeah, again, we're grateful to our different organizations who contributed funds to that, and it resulted in 70 students receiving employment over the summer.
Nice. And for Mentor a Student Intern, the fall budget?
Our budget for this fiscal year for both fall and winter semesters, so for fall 2024 and winter 2025, is just about $40,000.
And then, like you said, 1.4 overall for Builders of the Future. We've received funding, but that doesn't include other contributions that we make towards like student allowances. Anyone who's out there, just to give you an idea, a student allowance for a monthly single student is $1,200 a month. So yeah, times that by 8, 6 months of the program. So it gets to be pretty costly.
Yeah, so for Builders of the Future, just without allowance costs, as you mentioned, allowances are very costly. But without allowance costs, we spent roughly about $360,000 on Builders of the Future.
For one cohort.
For one cohort last year, yeah.
It's a lot. It really is. Because when you think about it, right, we only have 8 students. And one cohort to cost that much, we have to pay some rent for the building where it takes place, all of the professionals, the teachers, the supplies is a huge amount, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into the expenditures for the program. So we really are investing in the 8 students who are participating in the program.
So for a boot camp, Drake, what does it cost to run one of those boot camps?
So that's a little bit cheaper. My budget's limited. My signing authority and signature don't carry as much weight as your guys's. So to run one cohort of the boot camp, it costs approximately $20,000, and that includes a number of different things. Not only the training costs, we supply the students with Microsoft Office subscriptions. We have the catered meals. Helps foster community within the program. Just enjoying a meal with your colleagues. That includes bursaries for the students who complete the program, as well as a number of other things.
That's another perk, right? When they complete the 12-week program, which is 2 nights a week, they get a bursary.
Yeah,
a completion bursary.
They
What
get
is
a
that?
$250 bursary that it's attached onto their certificate of completion,
Nice.
which is great to see. I love seeing it in everyone's Instagram stories.
Yeah.
It fuels my heart.
Good. Yeah, it's an incentive, and they worked hard. It's not easy. A lot of our students in this boot camp are usually working already and or have families. So to take 2 hours a night to come to a class like this and fully commit, it's great to give them kind of a little incentive at the end.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about 2025. It's 2 of our programs that we're going to see. So we've talked about mentor, student, intern, but we have that for both semesters, fall and winter. So for winter, what do you have to do if you're thinking of applying for that program?
The application deadline for the winter semester of the Mentor Student Intern program is January 24th, 2025. What employers and students will need to do if they haven't already participated in this fall program, for those that participated in the fall program, they can request an extension with me, and there's a couple of documents that they'll have to hand in. But for those who are brand new to the program for winter 2025, both the employer and student will have to go onto our website, which is dewa.ca-masi. They will have to go on there and complete both the student application as well as the employer application. On there, you will see the different documents that need to be submitted. So for a student, this includes their schedule for this upcoming semester. It will include their grades and their cumulative average. And it will also include their resume and letter of request. And for the employer, they will provide us with a job description and their letter of support for the student.
So for this program, you have to have a full-time schedule, right? You have to be a full-time post-secondary student.
Yeah, students have to be full-time. So students that can participate, they can be senior high school students, they can be near students, as well as post-secondary students. So you must have a full-time schedule, and you must have an academic average of at least 70% and above, because we want to ensure that students can manage both their workload in school as well as their responsibilities at their job effectively.
Yeah, and it's 10 hours a week about?
Yes, so students can work up to 10 hours per week for a maximum of 15 weeks.
You have an idea of the types of studies and the type of employer, like that matching mentorship?
Yeah, we have quite a few who are very aligned with the employer that they're with right now. So we have a student, for example, who is majoring in finance, and they're currently working with Dabble. And then we also have a student here at Jacco who is in film studies, and they are our content creator. So we have a variety of different positions and employers who are even willing to bring in a student to mentor them, especially if you're in a field that is in demand in their organization or their business.
We're going to have something new in January 2025, and it's the PATH program. Tell us all about it, Drake.
Absolutely. So PATH is an acronym. We do love our acronyms here at DEWA. It stands for Professional Advancement and Training Hub. Essentially what it is, it's a new modular training program designed to provide community members, whether they're professionals looking to upskill, whether you're just looking for employable skills, or whether you're a business owner looking to grow and expand your business. PATH offers different tailored learning opportunities for really anybody in the community who's looking to learn. For me, the reason I think this is important, it was developed to address the growing need for flexible, accessible, and practical training within our community. So, as mentioned, it helps individuals upskill, explore new career opportunities without committing to long-term programs or the high financial burden. So, we're very lucky here, David and Izak, that we get to attend different conferences and trainings each year. But I know that's not the reality for a lot of our private businesses and some of our smaller organizations. So I wanted to bring these sorts of trainings to the community and just allow everyone to participate.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very excited to start this new program. And there's going to be an application process once we get started.
Absolutely. So we just put out a press release, and so far there's been a lot of positive feedback, already a ton of interest. Just to give it an idea of how it works, we're going to be announcing different workshops, I'd say quarterly. So every 3 months, we're going to identify the different types of trainings that are upcoming. We'll put those out there to, develop some word of mouth, some buzz about them. And then, so for example, for this cohort or this pilot project, we just put out the press release, and registration will open in the new year when we return to office on January 6th. So it's going to be on a first come, first serve basis for this one. We talked a lot about selection process earlier, but for these types of trainings, we're really going to open it up to anybody who's willing to take it and wants to learn.
Yep.
And it's a modular approach. So we identify a couple of different types of trainings. And, previously we had done a lot of career training. So, the curriculum is set. With the boot camp, there's 12 weeks of set curriculum. But with this, the unique part and aspect of it is that people can really develop their own curriculum. If you want to take workshop 1 and 3, you can do that. If you want to take all of them, you can do that. So it's completely flexible and,
Good.
based on the needs of each individual.
What are we going to start with? What's our 2 first programs?
Yeah, so the first 2 workshop topics are Canva and digital marketing, as well as kind of an intro to accounting. So these were actually identified through the administrative assistant bootcamp we talked about. So, all those surveys that the community members are filling out and our participants are filling out, they do go to good use. This is how we developed this new PATH program.
Speaking of surveys, we put out one maybe 2 years ago, a job inventory, and we asked our private businesses what types of training and professional upgrading they needed for their businesses. And these were the top 2 as well, marketing and accounting. Yeah. So that's why we're going to start with those. So we're anticipating these to be, again, very popular. It'll be once a week online.
Yeah. So as mentioned for our pilot, they're all going to be online courses. This is, we also have the bootcamp going that uses our space here. But moving forward, we'd like to offer, a flexible schedule as well as a variety of different trainings, whether it be, more intensive trainings on a weekend, whether it be online once a week, in person twice a week here, lunchtime learnings. We really want to open it up to as many possibilities as possible, just to allow for everyone to participate.
All right. So for the new PATH program, I know we have a new partner that you've secured.
Yeah. So once again, we are partnered with NFSB for the trainings. They've been great partners with the boot camp. They also identified a new funding source, Service Quebec, that offers funding towards these type of career trainings, upskilling type of things. So essentially what it is it greatly reduces the financial cost for us and, to offer to the community. It takes it down, as we've mentioned, high instructor costs. This takes it down to $5 an hour per individual.
All right. So speaking of builders of the future, we also have Drake, the Sousa here in studio. He's our workforce development coordinator. Could you give us a little bit of a